So 2 weeks down in the school year, back to work, which means I'm 2 weeks closer to retiring, which feels pretty good. Although, got a raise this year as well, so making more money per year than I've ever made in my career as a teacher, which I guess is pretty cool. To be honest with you, though, I feel less wealthy now that I'm back to work than I did this summer before going back to work. Even though I'm making more money, which I guess sounds kind of weird, but um, the way I see it, now that I'm back to work, I now have less time to do the things that at this point in my life I'd rather be doing. Um, my morning walks with my trusty dog, can only do those a couple days a week now. Exercising in the morning on my own schedule. I can still exercise in the morning, I guess, but I have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do that. Not really feeling it at 5 o'clock in the morning at this point in my life anymore. So try to wait till I get home in the evening. But anyway, I just don't have as much time to do the things that I was used to doing. And that is 100% me being a spoiled teacher. Thinking about it, being a teacher, kind of probably more than any other profession, you get a glimpse into what retirement can be like, because we get about 2.5 to 3 months off in the summertime. So you get a lot of time to do the things you want to do. And then when school goes back, or when school begins again, each school year, your summer routine goes away. So my early retirement routine has gone away now, and back to the quote unquote grind of working, which is okay. Luckily I'm not at the point where I hate my job, not even close to hating my job, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't prefer to have my days off. Turning 56 next month, and I think I mentioned this before, like physically I don't feel the same as I used to. And so on my mind is, I'm wondering what I'll feel like, when I retire. Hopefully I'll still feel at least as good as I do today. But if I were to work another 5 years, for sure, I don't think I would feel the same. Realize how rich I was, to have the summer off to kind of get a taste of what early retirement's going to feel like, and I think I'm going to like it for sure. Definitely think I'm going to like it for sure. Also, didn't realize, just how rich I am in the current life that I have. I don't have a lot of fancy things. That's not defining wealth for me at this point in my life, or richness of life, I suppose. So I guess it's probably been about 4 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks ago at this point. I know time kind of flies. But I listed a motorcycle I had for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and about a week went by and I had a lot of local offers, but then I got an offer from a guy who lived in Phoenix, Arizona, which as soon as I saw the offer, saw the question, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, typical scammer, or somebody who just plays around on Facebook kind of pretending to go through the buying or purchasing routine. But this guy really, I don't know, I guess it's just some of the language he used in his posts. You could tell he was an avid motorcyclist, somebody who liked to travel and ride. So we went back and forth a few times. Long story short, had a couple phone calls and got to know each other a little bit. He really was from Phoenix, and he really was a serious cash buyer, or so it seemed. But right away, within a day, he made plans to fly from Phoenix to Cincinnati, which is the closest airport to me. What night would it have been? Flew in on Tuesday, or he was going to fly in on a Tuesday night, and then we were going to meet up, and then he was going to, purchase the bike, meet at a local bank, purchase the bike, get the title notarized and that kind of thing. Then he was going to set sail back across the country and ride it back to Phoenix. Which, long story short, all of that did happen. But here's what I found kind of interesting. After talking to the guy a little bit on the phone, really cool guy, and I had an extra room available in my workshop. So, instead of me driving to Cincinnati early Wednesday morning to pick him up, and fighting rush hour traffic and then coming back, which meant that he would get a late start Wednesday evening riding back towards Phoenix. I offered to drive down late Tuesday night, pick him up, make the hour and a half drive back to my home here in Otway, Ohio, and then we could go to the bank early in the morning, and then he could set sail. So that's what we did, and I went down and picked him up. Turned out to be a wonderful person. Had great conversation on the way home. A lot of things in common between he and I, centered around our love for motorcycles and travel and that kind of thing. But anyway, we got back to my house, and I'm showing him his room and my shop where it's going to be and that kind of thing. But he was just amazed on the way home, because we had to drive through a couple really small towns that are near me. Each of these towns has a population, a grand total each of about 75 to 80 people. So really small towns. Not a whole lot to offer in those towns other than a really quiet, peaceful life. And he was just stunned. It was like, what a wonderful place this must be. And he couldn't wait to see it in the daylight. Well, we got back to my house and where I live, it's a dark area. I don't have any outside lights that I keep on. My closest neighbors are probably about, I don't know, maybe 500 feet away. And I live on upper side of a hill, so it's really hard to see anybody. And none of my neighbors have lights on at night either. So when you're outside at night, you can hear, all of nature, the sounds of nature at night. And it's absolutely intoxicating sound to hear at night, and then of course, if it's clear night, where I live, you can look up and see the Milky Way. And of course you can see, a full complement of stars and constellations. And I went off to bed and, we talked for a little bit and just enjoyed the view for a minute. But then the next morning, when he woke up, he said that he'd come out late at night just to enjoy the peace and quiet, something that he doesn't often get to experience where he lives in a suburb of Phoenix. And I've been to Phoenix before, but it's been about 25 years ago. And even then it was a massive town. But he said since then it's just grown exponentially, and it's just madness almost 24 hours a day with traffic and noise and lights. And he said on a good night, on a really good night, he can faintly see the Big Dipper. And he was just, pleasantly surprised by, life here in Southern Ohio. Well, the next day we got up and he had forgotten his helmet on the plane. So luckily, one of the small towns I live in, Raritan, has a Honda shop, and they have a few things like helmets and accessories. And we went out and bought a helmet. And once again, he was just blown away by the character of these small little towns. And he point blank said, man, like, do you realize you're living the dream? I'm like, yeah, I really do, especially at this point in my life. I understand it, but I'll admit there are days and times where, I take it for granted. So whatever you're used to, you kind of begin to take for granted over time. And, truthfully, I do understand that this is the lifestyle that I love living. And I think that factors into, what's going to allow me to retire early, because life in a small town it can be really, really inexpensive. And maybe not a lot to offer culturally, but we're very, very wealthy in things like, peace, quiet, slow-paced quality of life compared to a lot of places. So it was kind of cool, I guess, to hear it from somebody else, a different perspective from somebody that I didn't know, and only recently met, to hear that, this is a lifestyle that can be appreciated by people other than myself. And I thought that's really, really cool. And then that even more so, took it for granted when I had to return to work a couple weeks ago, and kind of lost some of the freedom I had to enjoy this lifestyle. And even though the first couple of weeks of school were relatively easy, and especially for me, because I was more or less just filling in a few spots here and there and helping out at least a little bit, a couple of the new teachers, which, by the way, I mentioned in a previous video, which I'll link in the description, about how we're all going to be replaced. And it turned out really best case scenario, because the young lady who replaced me was a former student of mine, and she is an absolutely wonderful young lady, incredibly intelligent and extremely capable. As a first year teacher, she's blew me away in the first couple of weeks at her level of preparedness and her acumen to be a great teacher. So telling you, like, the horror of being replaced for some people, like luckily for me, like there were no such worries anyway, because you know you're going to be replaced. But it made me feel really, really good to know that, you know, when I leave, that you know, the students in my former 7th grade classroom, my coworkers, you know, the building principal that I work with, you know, they're going to have an employee who's going to be absolutely amazing, and she's going to be there most likely for a long, long time. So that was the best case scenario I could possibly imagine. So do I regret telling my employee, my you know, my boss, my principal, my superintendent, that I intended to retire early this year? Absolutely not, because you know, at first there was some apprehension. I know from my superintendent, he was a little bit worried about, you know, what it was going to look like. But now that we see that they've been able to pick up some really amazing young teachers to replace me, that it worked out for the best, because there's probably a 100% chance that she's working for another school district right now if they didn't go ahead and you know, hire her early. So, like, you know, the original plan for me to help her out for you know, 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever, it's 100% not necessary, because she is ready to hit the ground running, which freed me up then to cover an elementary position, because at our elementary school we had a teacher who just resigned this past Friday, a week into school, to start her own business. So it was a perfect, I guess, transition for me to jump right back into elementary. I've never taught 3rd grade before. I have taught 4th grade, so teaching 3rd grade is going to be a really cool experience. So I'm looking forward to it. Some really, really wonderful people in the hallway that I'm going to be working in. So whenever my retirement date, you know, comes along, at least until then, I'm really confident I'm going to have an amazing experience, and then eventually be able to get back to my really rich and quiet lifestyle that I lead here in Otway, Ohio. But anyway, I thought it was really cool to, I guess, have somebody who does have a, say, what would I say, like this lifestyle that a lot of people, you know, admire, or, you know, want to emulate. Somebody who's living in a big city, you know, has a great job, you know, has a really good income, et cetera, et cetera. You know, all the amenities that a big city has to offer. But yet, you know, even that person, when they, you know, get a taste of this lifestyle here, wow, this is a really, really cool way to live. So even though I didn't really need it, it was good to have some kind of affirmation to know that, hey, you know, my plan to moving forward and retiring early, seems to be on solid ground, at least, uh, uh, you know, from the outside looking in. So anyway, thanks for watching and appreciate it. Keep following along. I've got another video or two coming along in my off-grid cabin project. I've been, you know, dutifully trying to cut logs in my spare time now, you know, after school in the evening. It's been kind of hot, so about to get my first wave of logs cut up. So be dropping a new video for that pretty soon. So again, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.